His opinion is that the flesh that's stuck to the skin is considered food. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. It is considered food, but it's even more than that. Not only is it considered food,
the meat that's still on the skin.
Yeah. Not only is it considered food, but it's even considered nevela, and it's metame bekazayas. Our Mishnah was discussing all of these things that can be. That could be combined into the flesh to make it the size of an egg to be susceptible to tumah. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says that this part, which is not considered the actual flesh, is really so much flesh that it's not only that it combines, but it even is considered nevela itself. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda says Ha'olol will this part of the flesh that's stuck to the skin will be considered nevela. Amar Rav Huna, an early Amayra, student of Rav, he says V'usha Kansu. So you have two ways of learning Rabbi Yehuda. I could have learned Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda says that if you have a kazayas b'makam echad, if you have a kazayas of this in one place, it's considered nevela. I could have said that what happened was the guy that was chopping the skin off, he left the kazayas in one place. So he could have said that's nevela. Comes along Rav Huna and says no. He gathered it. If he then gathers it together, then it will be considered nevela. That means that it wasn't done originally, that he actually had to do an action to bring it together. And Rav Huna has another statement. If you have two half olive size pieces of meat that are stuck to the skin nullifies them.
The same skin?
Yeah. Skin nullifies them, and it's not considered tameh. Okay, now, in order to continue, we have a Mishnah later on. We'll do some. Says, we have a Mishnah later on Kuf Chaf Dalet. The Mishnah says that if you have a skin that has on it a full kazayas, if you touch it, then you're tameh, or on the flesh that's next to it. However, if it has two half olive sizes, so then if you lift up the skin, that means you're lifting it all up together. Then Rabbi Yishmael holds that you become tameh, because we're talking about a dead animal, an animal that died in the nevela. So then you're tameh. But if you touch it, you're not tameh. Rabbi Akiva says you're not even tameh if you lift it up. Why? You lifted up a kazayas of nevela. Rabbi Akiva says that kazayas of nevela is bottled to the ark. It's not considered flesh. Because it's two half kazasim, the skin is mevatalet. Comes along Rav Huna here and it says if you have two half olive sizes of flesh on the skin is mevatalet. The Gemara asks, Aliba Deman. Rav Huna is an early Amayra. Who's he talking? Which opinion does he want to go like? Eily b'd Rabbi Yishmael. Is he going according to Rabbi Yishmael? Rabbi Yishmael says the skin is not mevatalet. He says Rabbi Yishmael says if you lift it up, it's metame b'masa. By lifting it up, you become tameh. You can't touch them both at the same time. Well, you can't touch them one after another and say, oh, that touching combines. But if you lift it up, then you're lifting up the whole olive, the whole kizayis, the whole olive size. Via liva de Rabbi Akiva, if he goes according to Rabbi Akiva, which that's the obvious, he's going according to Rabbi Akiva because Rabbi Akiva says that the skin is mevatalet, and that's what Rav Huna is saying, the skin is mevatalet. So the Gemara's question is, Pshita, that's too obvious. I don't need Rav Huna to say what Rabbi Akiva is saying. Rabbi Akiva just said that. Ha'amar mevatalet. Rabbi Akiva says that the skin is mevatalet, and it becomes like nothing, and it's not metama. The Gemara says, Leila Malib de Rabbi Shmuel. He's going according to Rabbi Shmuel. Now we have a problem. Rabbi Shmuel said that if you lift it up, it's your tameh. Why? Because the skin wasn't mevatel, the flesh. The Gemara explains. Two possibilities. Kim Rabbi Shmuel le mevatela, or when does Rabbi Shmuel say that the skin is not mevatel? Hani milisha poltase chaya. We're talking about that there was an animal that bit this skin and took a bunch of flesh out with it. So we're going to say that the person did not nullify it to the skin. It wasn't an action of a person that said, I'm not interested in this meat, it's not worth it, and left it on the side. So that's when it's going to say that the skin is not mevatelet, because there was no human involvement there. However, aval poltasi sakin, but if the person that's doing this, the one that's taking the skin off, he leaves the meat on the side, then Rav Huna is saying that it's batel. So even in Rabbi Shmuel, it's not always that the skin is not mevatel. It depends. If it was attached to the skin because of an animal bite, then that's different than if the person left it on the skin. If the person left it on the skin, then it's not considered flesh. Okay, so far, that's okay. Again, we had two statements from Rav Huna. One was that Rabbi Yehuda is talking about that you gathered the meat together to make it a kazayas. The second statement is two half kazesim of meat are batel to the skin. Tashema. The last statement that we just said was that we said that Rabbi Shmuel holds that there's a difference between poltase sakin or poltase chaya, if it was left on the skin because of the knife or left on the skin because of an animal bite. Rabbi Yehuda says, come and listen to this. If you have gathered together the olol, which is the meat that's attached to the skin, if you have kazayas in one spot, then you're chayev. Rav Huna says that's only if you gather it together, which means that it wasn't left there. It means you went ahead afterwards and you gathered it together. If we say that Rabbi Shmuel holds that when the knife leaves it on the side, it's not batel. This is the one that's skinning the animal. Leaves it on the side. Just 1 second. He leaves that meat on the side, and we say that it's not batel. So Rav Huna the Amar Rabbi Shmuel. Rav Huna comes along and says that when the butcher comes along and takes that meat off the hide, that meat is nevela. So then, how could that meat be nevela? If the meat was batel to the skin, then it wasn't nevela. What are you going to do? You're going to create nevela? You're going to turn it into nevela later? You can't turn anything into nevela later. Is it nevela or not? So if I say that it's batel to the skin and it wasn't nevela before, that I can't turn it into nevela. But if I say that it was never batel to the skin, and now you come along and you gather it together to be a size of a kazayas, so then it is nevela, which that's what Rabbi Yehuda holds. Then that could make sense. The only way I can do that is if I go back and I say that Rabbi Shmuel holds that even if the butcher, the one that's skinning the animal, doesn't, even if it's left on the hide by the butcher, it's still not batel to the art. Then I can say that Rav Huna comes along and explains Rabbi Yehuda's din that it's nevela when he goes ahead afterwards and collects it. But the problem is, we just said before that Rabbi Shmuel holds that if the skinner leaves it on the side, it's batel. If you say that if the one that's skinning it leaves it on the side, it's batel. Rav Huna Damar Kaman. So who's Rav Huna going like, where you have to collect it afterwards? We could have learned it simple. We could have learned it that Rav Huna, that Rabbi Yehuda is talking about, where it was left the kazayas originally and no one needs to collect it. But Rav Huna doesn't say that. Rav Huna says that you do need to go ahead and collect it. It means you never had a kazayas here. Never had a kazayas. Now we have to discuss, is it batel? That's now we're back in Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva. Do we say that half a kazayas, 2 half kazasim on the skin, are they batal or not? Rabbi Akiva holds that it is batal. So we didn't have to get into this. But Rav Huna got himself into this, and now both Rav Huna's statements are creating this problem. Rav Huna's statement that says that Rav Yehuda is talking about that you gather it together afterwards, you didn't leave it there originally. The second statement, that 2 kazesim that are together, that 2 kazesim that are on the skin is mevatalit. How do you have them both together? Okay. Where it says, Eily poltasi sakin Rabbi Shmuel loy batal. Rabbi, you wanted to ask me something?
It's okay.
I'm sorry, I waited too long. I lost my chance.
No. That's the problem.
Really? Really? If it was left on the hide because of the knife, it's not batal. That's a problem. It's not batal when it's left on the side by the knife. Then who's Rav Huna talking? We said Rav Huna says that the skin is mevatal the two half kazesim. We said that 1 second. That's a machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Rav Huna is much later. Which side is he going like? If he's going like Rabbi Shmuel, then that's totally not true. If he's going like Rabbi Akiva, then that's obvious. So we said no. In Rabbi Shmuel, there's 2 possibilities. I know Rabbi Shmuel doesn't hold of that, but that's only when it's bitten off by an animal. But now we're talking about when it's cut off by the knife, so that is batal. But now we're saying that no, Rabbi Shmuel really holds that even if it's taken off by the knife, it's also not batal. That's Rabbi Shmuel's full opinion, that the skin doesn't make it batal. For Rav Huna Damak Rabbi Akiva. And Rav Huna is going like Rabbi Akiva. Back to the original question, Pshita, that was obvious. The Gemara says no. Ma'u detema, I could have said, Kikam Rabbi Akiva. When does Rabbi Akiva say that it's batal? Hani milu potasi sakin. That's only, now we're going exactly the opposite. Now that's only when it's batal, only if the butcher left it on the side. Aval potasi chayale batal. But if it was left on the side by any animal, even Rabbi Akiva would say that it's not batal, and it would make him tummy if he lifted it up. Kamash Malan comes to tell me, time of the Rabbi Akiva. What's the reason for Rabbi Akiva? Or mevatlan. It's the skin that makes it batal. It's not the human intervention that makes it batal. It's not that the person leaves it there and that's what makes it batal. The skin is mevatal. Leishna palat chaya, leishna palat sakin. Doesn't matter if it was left on the skin because of an animal bite, or it was left on the skin because of the butcher. Kediktani seifa, as it says in the seifa, why does Rabbi Akiva make it tahar? This 2 half kazesim, neishar mevatlam, because the skin is mevatlam. Okay. Let's try to read the Mishnah and see how far we can get. Eily saying to Besaron, the following animals, their skin is just like their flesh, and just like the flesh is tummy, the skin is also tummy, and it's part of the flesh to make it to give off tumah. Or ha'adam. See further what this exactly means. The skin of a human. Va'or chazir shel yishuv, and also I guess domesticated pig. Now the reason for this is because the skin of a chazir of an inhabited area, domesticated, I guess, is softer than the wild pigs, and therefore it's considered more fleshy, and so therefore it will give off the tumah. Rabbi Yehuda af or chazir habar. Rabbi Yehuda holds that even a wild chazir also has the same status. V'or chateres. This is the skin of the hump on a camel. V'or chateres shel gamel. Haraka. I guess it means young. Soft means young. So that's considered like the flesh. V'or haroish shel egel arach. In the head of the skin of the head of a young calf. V'or aprasis. Or aprasis is the skin of the legs,
Hooves.
the hooves. V'or beis habaishas, the skin that's around the area of the womb of the animal. V'or hashlil, this is the skin of a fetus. V'or shaltachas ha'alya, the skin that's under the tail. V'or ha'anaka. How do they translate anaka?
A gecko.
Gecko. V'or ha'lata, I guess it means a lizard. Oh yeah, litarda. Rashi has litarda. Maybe that's a lizard. V'hachaymet. What is a chaymet?
Skink.
Okay. A skink. I don't know what that is, but okay. It's another type of lizard-looking thing. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer halata kecholda. Rabbi Yehuda says that this lizard is like a cholda, is like a weasel, which means that the skin is not like the flesh. Where all of these we're talking about that the skin is like the flesh. Rabbi Yehuda argues, the kulan she'ibdan, but all of them that were tanned, ay shehilach bem kedei avayda, or that you stretch them out in order to tan it, that's tahirin. Or then it becomes tar. Chutz mi'ara adam, except for human flesh, which doesn't become tar if you tan it. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri amishmena shotzim yesh lamayros. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that the 8 creatures of the Torah that are tamei, if they die, they give off tama. So they do have skins, which means that their skin is separate from the flesh. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Maybe I